Greetings, fellow investigators, and welcome back to our video podcast, Into the Darkness, where my friends and I play the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game. I'm your host, Tom Rayleigh. The campaign is Horror on the Orient Express. It's available from Chaosium. I am the keeper of arcane lore, and this is episode 55. Our recap will be given by Keith Craig as his character, Gunter Block. So, without any further delay, let's continue our journey into the darkness. Keith?
Life. Life is a cruel joke. I made it through the Great War without an injury, whereas so many of my friends were blown to pieces or became amputees due to the blasted Allied guns. But here I found myself on a journey on the luxury Orient Express, and I've suffered more than any during that damned war. I now have a limp, and it hurts to walk. I now have a persistent cough, and worst of all, my eye has been ripped out of my head. At least Dr. Kurz has made sure that my eye socket doesn't hurt anymore with that knife of his. We found ourselves journeying to Sofia. Dr. Neruda had a strange dream where he claimed he was defying the laws of gravity while moving around the train. Fortunately, he was the only one that had it. If we had all shared another dream again, I'd hoped I'd be back on the train in the Dreamlands. As I was walking in the train to go to the restroom, I noticed a man reading about the Sedef car. I began talking to him about this photography and discovered that he was Professor Radko Jordanovin, a friend of the beautiful Yasmina. He told us about a man named Pinav who had possibly found the head that we were seeking. While we were discussing this with him, Dr. Kurz noticed a waiter was taking notes on us instead of serving the other patrons. We went to confront him. He stabbed the maitre d' and ran off. Knowing that I had no chance of catching him, I quickly rendered medical assistance to the maitre d' while the others chased the man down. He was trapped and threw his backpack out the train before Thursby shot him twice, ending his life. We discovered that he was not an actual waiter; he was an imposter. He'd killed the waiter and had severed his hand. Obviously, someone of the cult that we've been seeking out. Of course, once we arrived in Sofia, we had to go to the police station to give our statement. While there, we learned that there's been an uptick of violent crime in Sofia, especially with the victims being dismembered, and most horribly of all, their hands being cut off. The police think it might be some gang initiation, but I've long given up coincidences. We stayed at the Fireside Inn, a cozy place to stay. Remind me of the hunting lodge we stayed at where I met the beautiful Yasmina. While we were getting rest, we were attacked by the hands. They were walking, and then one crawled up my chest. They were obviously driven by some magical power. I mean, they were walking hands, but then I wasn't even strong enough to remove it from my neck and then my mouth, and then it jabbed its fingers in and scooped my eyeball out. Dr. Cruz used the Mem Sahis to seal the wound, and in the agonizing pain that I was in, I discovered that I could see through the removed eye and that it was going down an alley. Now we're worried that maybe that they stole my eye so they can see what we're up to. Like I said, life's a joke.
Right. So we'll pick that up right after it happened. Gunter, you've seen somebody running down an alley from their perspective. No, from the hand's perspective. Mm-hmm. And it at some point there's somebody in the alley that picks up the hand, and there's a moment of, it seems almost like dizziness, but then you think maybe took the eye and placed it in its own face. From there, you saw it approaching a large black car. And then at that point, you became too distracted with what was going on around you to see any details. And you all are probably gathered together now after what happened.
Ugh.
Well, the doctor has fixed the socket of your eye.
Yeah.
And the good news, such as it is that should we be able to reacquire your orb, or even that of another, the MCE should be able to replace it into its original cavity and return you to functional sight. Although the multiplicity of this vision is confusing, and I wonder if we shouldn't fit you with an eye patch so as to reduce their ability to spy on us.
The question, we don't know how this owl magic works. If they're seeing out of the socket, or if they're seeing out of his other good eye.
Yeah, I don't want to cover up his only good.
No, I don't want to be fully blind.
Yeah, I wonder if we can find a good glass eye for the meantime. Something.
Simply to avoid public approbation?
Or whatever you see fit.
That would probably not be an easy thing to do.
It's a specialty industry, yeah.
Yeah, they have to fit you for those.
Yeah, so an eye patch just for public consumption, or perhaps glasses with a darkened lens is more comfortable.
Yep.
And then perhaps we can devise an experiment about whether they seem to be able to see through what remains, or if they're using somehow the place your eye was.
So it's early morning. What are your plans? You probably can't sleep.
What happened with the two captured ones? The one I stabbed, put in the drawer, and one that's in a pillowcase. Did they no longer animate, or did they sort of just become hands? And
they twitched as long as everything was going on, and then afterwards, they almost seemed to decay at a rapid rate.
Desiccation.
Not in the same rate and not in the same way for each of them, but as if the hands were old, and what was making them limber and so forth was the magic. And once it was gone, if they were 3 weeks old, they went to that state, that sort of 3 weeks old.
So they did not vanish, but they putrefied.
Right.
We hardly wish to be in the possession of some hands in this town where...
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
you probably could have easily tossed them into the fire.
Yeah.
Would have.
Well, burning flesh, even if it's like 2 weeks old, really reeks. Maybe we should do this not in our bedroom.
Put them in a doggy bag and leave them outside for
the dogs.
Yeah, the rats of the city will probably consume them in very little time. We just do not want to be associated with the missing limbs.
Yeah.
What was on your agenda is you were going to go see Dr. Jordanov tomorrow at his home. You have his car.
Mm-hmm.
And he was going to find this manuscript that he had talking about the head of a statue. The Jujunaga idol, as he called it. So if you want to move ahead, we can do that.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking maybe I mean, they were hands running, just kind of walking. They couldn't have gotten too far. I know they got in the car, but just kind of see if I can figure out the alley they went
There
to.
is snow on the ground.
Oh, yeah. Then just kind of follow to where they got in the car. Just
Yeah, you even have some idea of directionality because you saw the escape.
mhm.
So little fingerprints in the snow might be interesting. A couple of us shall go with you, and maybe the rest of us get coffee and rolls so we can fortify ourselves.
Yeah, I'll go with you, Gunther, if you don't mind.
Oh,
Yeah.
please. You're
Yeah.
the only one that handled those hands. So,
Well, and I think theater has a fairly good tracking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Herr Bloch, do you wear glasses? Does your character wear glasses? It's never come up, I think.
never did. Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So we have a pair of glasses, and it's not hard for me to paint the lens of the missing eye black.
Yeah.
You can fit a little cloth around it, and yeah. See, in fact, if you don't mind, since there's the recess, we can put a little dark fabric in there too. Just try to blind them if that's what they are seeing through, and make it less shocking should someone see you from the side until we can purchase something appropriate. It is not as though in Europe it is hard to find places that sell prosthetics from violence and warfare. So
Yeah. Just a patch would be.
Also interesting to note that it doesn't actually even look like a wound anymore. It looks, you could almost think that it looks like a birth defect, like he never had an eye, because of the way that the
Mims
repaired.
he seizes, shears the fabric together. Yeah. Oh, interesting.
Still, it's shocking. So people, back then, you don't want.
Yeah.
All right. So Gunter and Theodore, while the others go shopping for croissants and things like that, you go outside. Theodore, do a tracking roll.
All right, 1 second.
You can both do tracking rolls if you want.
Okay, 34. See, 1 second. Please stand by. Okay, where's my tracking? Is that natural world or is tracking actual track? Oh, there it is.
Track,
40. Yeah, okay, so cool. Yeah, that's a success.
Okay.
Just a regular success, though.
So what happens is as you're looking around, there's very few footprints at the moment because it's still very early. But there's a couple of spots. It looks like there's a storm drain near one of the corners of the hotel or the inn, that it looks like there are little fingerprints running up to it and maybe somehow climbing up. You find a couple of spots like that, a place where it looks like there's a basement or something, that there's maybe you almost think maybe it's an odd hole, but you think maybe it's cat access so that cats can get in and out to hunt rats or whatever. But they definitely went through there. There's a number of places around. Following them backwards, they seem to all sort of skirt around the building to a particular alley, and then they're all joined together. So you've got obvious tracks going in that direction. They go for maybe a block, maybe 2 blocks. They turn a corner, and then you can see fresh tire treads in the snow on the road.
And we should be able to tell which direction they went from the brake pattern. And
correct. And you also do see the imprint of men's shoes. Maybe 5 men's shoes, but it's hard to tell because some of them are crisscross and so forth. But they definitely got in the big truck and they ended up going east. But it's a city, so once you're on the road, it's crisscrossed by thousands of others.
Interesting. Multiple of them, and I wonder if they But it looks like just the hands kind of started here, that we can't figure out where they kind of started. Like someone maybe had it in a bag and dumped it out, or
But yeah, that's hard to tell.
okay,
He could have also been in the car with
okay,
people, and they just opened the door and they all
all right. Yeah,
popped
so,
out.
all right, yeah,
But there's definitely evidence that they were under control.
yeah, obviously. Okay. Hmm.
And so you saunter your way back and you meet your friends as they come in with various pastries and things like that.
Thursby, that makes me feel better. It confirms that I wasn't just hallucinating what I was seeing, that I
Yeah.
was actually seeing that the hands went that way. And
Yeah, that stands to reason, even though as crazy as it sounds.
nothing shocks me anymore on this damn journey.
Yeah.
Yeah. An attack of multiple severed hands is significant proof that we do not understand the world that we experience whatsoever, I think.
Yeah. And looking at how the two different hands deteriorated to two different states shows there's no limit to the things they can animate. It doesn't have to be fresh.
Or they've been running around fresh, but inside decaying, or time has caught up with them. Speaking of lunatic dreams, do we have complete notes on the train dream, Neruda?
Yeah, the train dream, and the dream that I had on the train, it's almost as though, wow, I was looking through the perspective of one of these hand creatures. It's just not like a full grown person standing on the roof of the train would be noticed, I would think.
And the way it crawled into the window, I thought, was suggestive.
Unless it, I don't know, the perspective of my dream, did I see that thinking back on it, that I feel like small, like looking?
No, you didn't really feel small. You felt when you were standing on on the ceiling, as if the upside down train seats were right about here. And when you flipped back over, you were in normal position, normal height.
So I guess it wasn't one of those hand things. It was like it was a person.
You felt odd too. You felt kind of stronger, more physical, more athletic. Obviously, leaping out the window and flipping up onto the top of the train was quite athletic. Internally, you felt oddly free, as if the world didn't really matter to you. As you looked around, you were on top of the train looking around the landscape, and it was spectacular. You were riding on top of a train, but the wind didn't bother you that much. You felt glad, even though it feels really creepy to you.
I'm encouraged only to write as many details of this nightmare as you can, because of course they decay so quickly. The memories of a dream state want to evaporate from the mind. And I suspect that it's not the end of that vision for you. Also, who knows? We're being visited by so many things.
Sure.
So maybe we read, we have some coffee, we read the papers, and then we go to the professor's home.
Sounds good.
Okay. You arrive at the professor's home. It's morning. It's still fairly early. Let's say 8:30, 9 o'clock. You pull up. It's a very nice little house, the kind of house you'd expect for a noted professor to have. Not ostentatious, but very nice. And you park the car and you come up and you knock on the door, and Professor Jordanov answers. And he's like, "Ah, good, you've come. Welcome, welcome." And he says, "Please come into my home." And as you step inside, you realize, okay, this is a professor's home, because there's utility, there's the ground, there's tables that he uses to eat off of, and everything else is covered in papers and artifacts and objects that he's collected over the years. It's very busy. And Gunter, when you step through the door, he blinks his eyes and he looks up at you and says, "Oh, my friend, did you get injured? Your eye?"
Oh no, I had a glass eye, but I when we met, it was very good, but I didn't put it in today.
Oh, well, please come inside.
Mhm.
And after you've said that, he's kind of looking at you, and he probably notices little things like some of you have scratches, or, from your fight last night. But he doesn't really say anything, but you definitely get the impression that he notices. He brings you in. He says, "Please, you can put your jackets there, hang them up, and come into my dining room. You've brought some stuff with you." He's made coffee, and he lays out a pretty nice little feast for the five of you and himself. So for 10 or 15 minutes, he talks about just this and that, unless you have some questions for him. He says we can look for the manuscript right after breakfast. He's a very pleasant man.
Did you have anything strange happen to you last night?
What do you mean strange? His eyebrows go up.
Like visitors? Any visitors?
No visitors.
Oh.
And he looks over at you, Gunter, and he says, "Are you sure it didn't look like a glass eye?"
Oh yes. There's no way it would have been. I mean, look, I kind of like, not to gross you out, but I kind of put my finger in the socket. If it was fresh, this would hurt extremely.
I'm usually quite observant of small things, but must have missed my attention. It's a very good eye then.
And I'm, of course, like, since my 3D vision, I'm being very deliberate before I reach for my coffee, kind of like easing my hand up there instead of spilling it everywhere as I misjudge.
Yeah, of course, Herr Bloch, being an illusionist by nature.
You're an illusionist. Okay, well, that explains. Very good. You fooled me very well. I've always been fascinated at all the grand illusions. Of course, people such as yourself are honest. But of course, in the past, people discovering the tricks of your illusions have bilked thousands of people out of their, risen to the state of gods in some societies, pretending to have magical powers.
No, I prefer more for the entertainment is what I do it.
As well, magicians nowadays are usually pretty honest, except for the psychics who still bilk little old ladies out of their cash and
yes,
tell them they're going to fall in love or whatever. Well, as you can see, I have a lot of stuff.
Yes.
So I thought perhaps, as I recall, it's a small, not too thick manuscript paper. It's white. Unfortunately, so many of them are white. But perhaps if we divide everything up, each of us can take a section and we can begin looking for it. Now, you don't know the Bulgarian, but he gives you a note, and he tells you the translation is the Jujuera idol, evidence of a civilization older than mankind. And it's by Ivo Penev, 1908. And it should be in Bulgarian and Russian. So you can look for Russian text. And the second word is going to be that Jujeta, which let me spell that for you.
I only know French, Italian, and English, so I won't be much help.
I'm trying to think of my Cyrillic. Is there a symbol that is different for a combination of D, Z, and H? Is there a J symbol? Or is there, like in Polish, for example, Dąbrowski, there is the N with the bit in it and Z with a bit in it, and they don't seem that they we expect from Roman characters.
Yes, it's a lot of language, written language is gets a bit messy because some look very similar to others, especially when you go into Eastern Europe. You get a lot of characters that look the same, but they're not actually the same.
Yeah. But if you even can show us what the first three letters look like. Also, is the stacks here?
That's what it looks like.
Yeah.
Yes. There we go.
Oh, yeah.
See,
So,
look.
You're looking for two little boxes with a little spider.
Yeah. But it's true. The first characters are very distinctive. And for us, we were not familiar. That'll be quite helpful.
Yeah.
Also, your collections here, did they maybe happen somewhat historically? So you can say, this is from the last 6 months mostly on this table. Before that,
he smiles and says, I wish that I could say that. I'm afraid that I get interested in reading something and then I set it down somewhere and I go on to something else. And things move around.
And you recall it's not a very large object, but do you know anything about the binding?
I think it was about 60 pages. And it had I believe that it was perfect bound.
Yeah.
Like a small book, but I don't think it had a cover. It might have had a cover, like a thin leather cover, but it wasn't really a published book. It was something that Penev put together to hand out at an archaeological convention, where he was, of course, laughed off the stage.
Yeah, it is often unfortunate the way that those who are ahead of their times in certain sorts of discoveries are mocked while they are alive and then proven correct when it's too late for them to appreciate it.
Well, I don't think that it helped him any that part of the language that he used was quite derogatory towards the community, calling them a bunch of fools for not understanding the importance of the find. So how do you want me to do this? You can all do spot hidden rolls.
44.
Oh.
Spot hidden. 44 is a regular pass.
Okay. Anybody get better than a regular?
No, I'd have to spend luck to get a regular.
All right. So you are going to spend 5 hours because you're in the clean part of the house. He's got a library and goes on and on. But it's not an unpleasant day. You see a lot of stuff that you can't read at all. Occasionally, things that you can read a little better in German and French and other languages. But after about 5 hours, let's say 2 in the afternoon, you are going to find this. In the middle of that, Gunter, there's a moment when you're looking and your head kind of hurts a little bit, and as you wince in pain and you close your eyes, you see something very distinct. You are in the black car, and you're not sure if it's the same black car, but it could be. Of course, it's been many hours since then, but you don't know if you're in control of the man or not. But for the man sitting there in the car, you can't really see the people in there. They're all kind of dressed in dark clothing. But he turns and he looks out the window. And what you see, I actually threw this picture for later, but what you see is this. They seem to be on a mountain road, fairly high. And as there's a turn, you see this very distinctly shaped mountain.
Right.
And there'll be a few minutes when you don't see it, and then you'll see it again, maybe as the road is doing this. But you've got that in your head, just that shape.
Is there like some scrap paper or something where I could quickly kind of sketch
he's got paper and pads all over the
so
place.
I just don't want to do it on one of his valuable manuscripts.
Right.
I'll just kind of trace that.
All right, so 5 hours. And where is it? You find it, the Zhuzheta Idol. It is, in fact, 63 pages. It is complete with detailed sketches. It's got, it presents a study and theory of the origin of the idol found in Bulgaria in 1908. The idol is in the shape of a smooth and featureless head. And just looking at the sketches, you're saying, yeah, that looks exactly like the thing that's going to fit onto the top of the torso. Penev himself, if you can't read it, once you've found it, Jordanov will grab it and translate for you. He proposes that the idol is older than mankind, and it is constructed by a mysterious race of mythical dwarves known in this region as the Zhuzheta. The last 10 pages, however, are filled with wild conjectures and thinly veiled insults directed towards the established archaeological community. If you would like to roll a psychology roll on the writing itself. Oops, are you frozen? Oh, you're not frozen. If you want to roll a psychology on the way the thing is worded, because it's quite.
Would we need to understand the language, though?
Well, he's reading it out loud to you in English.
Okay. Ooh, 17. I think that's. Oh, darn
Much
it.
better than my 53.
I got an 03 in extreme.
It seems weird. It seems wild. There's things in it that remind you of L'Immagine del Diavolo, about there being or the Tilius Corvus manuscript, that there was like caves where there were some sort of ancient civilization that was going on. That's where maybe the thing came from. And your realization of that, you can do a sanity roll.
Oh God.
It's taken you about 3 hours for him to read through 61 pages and translate as we're going.
I failed my sanity by 3.
If you fail 1d3 of sanity loss.
Anything on a pass?
No, nothing. Pass.
My sanity is not looking so good.
When he
3
gets
sanity.
when he gets to the last page, there are a number of sort of notes, and one of them that he reads to you, Jordanov has a visible reaction. He says it states here that the Zhuzheta idol was sent to Dr. Todor Mateev at Sofia University. And he looks up at you and he's like, oh dear. I knew Dr. Mateev. He was a good man, kind man. And then one day, he murdered his wife and their 2 children, and he just butchered them. And when the police found him, they said Todor was wearing their skins and screaming at their bodies. He rushed at the police. He stabbed 1 or 2 of them, I think, before they shot him down like a mad dog.
Wow.
And you can see that he's pale, remembering all of that. And he sits down. He says, then a couple of years later, Dr. Mateev's research assistant, Reina Esev, she took her own life. I heard that she stabbed herself in the eye socket with an ice pick.
Hate it when that happens.
Apparently, she had suffered from horrible migraines for years. The pain must have driven her mad. You can see that Jordanov is very disturbed by this. This is rather it's a lot for me. I'm not used to this kind of. We have somebody trying to kill us on the train, and you say, was I visited last night? And your eye and your scratches, and now this has come up. There's too many coincidences to. I'm afraid. I mean, I'm really not sure I want to be involved in any of this. You understand?
Oh, I completely understand. Yeah, I mean,
Shake my coffee.
seems that some people put a lot of faith in this head and are willing to cause people harm to get it.
What do you want to do? Do you want to coax more out of him? Do you want to try to calm him down?
I think we ought to come clean with him, but I guess he probably speaks very good German, so it'll be foolish for me to try to speak just to Gunther. Professor, your instincts are very good, and I am afraid we have not been entirely forthcoming with you.
Oh.
Our journey has been somewhat dangerous, and not everyone is to be trusted. But you are most correct. You do not wish to be involved in this any further. In fact, if you were to take a brief vacation to make sure that our visiting you doesn't cause you any harm, I think I would recommend it. I think you should leave the document with us. And
yes. If you take it. So you can't read it yourselves, but I just it's so disturbing. I feel like throwing it in the fire. Perhaps I shall pull things together and maybe take a short vacation. I've just arrived home, and things that I suddenly forget her name back in.
Yasmina?
Jasmina. Things that Yasmina said, and why she said that you were good people, and that there were people after her as well. Yes. But perhaps the last thing I can do for you, though, is I can contact University of Sofia. I think that Professor Academician Chedenko is in charge of that department now. He's old, but I think that he is probably in Mateo's office. That's where if this thing is somewhere about, that's where it will be.
How long ago did this Reina Asayev end her life, the assistant?
It says a few years after Dr. Mateev murdered his family.
And what year was that, please?
Mateev was in 1908, 1909, 1908.
Yeah. So, to the best of your recollection, has Chedenko been in charge of the department since then, or is he more recent?
Yes, he used to be quite he was there for much longer, of course, than that, but he was originally a fairly young professor. I think that he's quite old now, but still in charge. Still in charge. Gentlemen, thank you. Thank you for bringing me this information, but sometimes I guess in academia we discover things that we wish that we didn't know. I wish you all the best, all the luck, and I really would rather you never contact me again. I can't take this sort of thing.
No.
Frail.
Can we advise him as to how we can be reached via telegram post restant if he should need our help?
Yeah, sure.
If he wishes to reach out to us, it's the least we can do. If we take the artifact away with us, even though we cannot personally read it, then he won't be responsible for having it. And perhaps if you see, how do you say, people whose skin does not feel comfortable on them, beware.
Yes. I'm going to try and do my best to avoid all of this. I'll be careful. Thank you.
Good.
And well, now you're kind of stuck because you're at his house. But
with his car, yeah. Is there an associate you have who can pick us up and take us?
Yes, I'll have them. They can take you back to your hotel, or they can take you to the university if you wish. I can call you a cab.
Yeah, anything you, any system that you have reason to trust.
Yes, I'll call them. I'll call you a Bulgarian Uber.
Yeah, and maybe you direct us to a place that is a short distance, so that it's not so obvious that we rush from you to the university.
Yes. All right, and he makes the call and says they'll pick you up on the corner of 3rd and May, which is just down the street.
Yes.
The university is not very far from his house. a few blocks, but it's cold and it's windy. You arrive at the University of Sofia, and it's a fairly large campus. It's an old campus, it's beautiful buildings, somewhat spectacular, as all beautiful old academic structures usually are. You are shown into first, let me tell you that you encounter some difficulty. The difficulty is a few of you speak English, and when you speak English, the people around you don't treat you very well. English is not particularly liked in this part of the world at the moment, but as long as you stick to German and French and things like that, then you get more leeway. Most of the people speak Bulgarian. You are eventually shown to an office. It's a very nice office. There is, once again, papers everywhere and all neatly stacked, of course. And there are bookshelves going up to the ceiling and statuary and artifacts and stuff. And there is a fairly old man. You can't really tell his age, but he's definitely old. And a little hunched over. Osteoporosis, if men get that. I don't know if men get that, but that's what he looks like. He's somewhat hunched over. Very long white beard, balding on the top, with a little white hair around the side. And he's like, please come in. Who's going to talk to him and in what language? We'll assume German or something, and he's ready to go through all that. So this is Professor Academy. It's a hard word to say.
Yeah.
Academician. Academy. Yeah. Chedenko. 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 It's like, please come inside. What can I do for you? It says wizened and gnome-like. So it gives you this. Yeah. What can I do for you? Please come in. I got a call for Jordanov. He said you had some questions.
We did. We understood you. Who was the professor that killed his family? Was that Motavin?
That's Mateev.
Mateev.
We understood that you replaced a Professor Mateev many years ago.
Yes, this was his office. Yes. Jordanov didn't say anything about that. You're not like with the press trying to find some old.
No. No need to dig up old lurid tales of things that are best left behind.
Yes. So he said something about the Jujeta idol.
Yeah, that's what
you were interested. That's an old. That's from quite a long time ago.
Yeah, we've been doing some research on that.
What did you want to know?
Do you still, is a piece still here at the university?
Oh, yes, I'm sure it's here. It's not here in the office, but it's probably in the storeroom. Yes, I'm sure it's still there. I have seen it, looked at it. It's an odd piece. My first impression was that it was a fake, made from some sort of odd plastic. Nobody's been able to identify the substance. Certainly the art style is like nothing that anyone's ever seen. Probably some college boys' art project, and they played a terrible prank on Mateev and Penev, the original discoverer. But yes, it's been here all this time. Yes.
Well, my associate's here, Dr. Neruda. He's from the Miskatonic University in the United States. And Dr. Dabrowski, he's an archaeologist. We've been doing some research on it and kind of looking into old myths of relics of myths and all. And this was one of those interesting pieces that they found in the research, and we're just trying to, you know.
Well, really, I didn't think that it would be in anyone's research. You've probably something else that you're looking for. But yes, yeah, we still have it. I'm pretty sure of it.
Hmm. Are you all right?
Oh, it's nothing. I suffer from persistent headaches most of the time.
Oh, so most unfortunate.
Well, I can take you. We can go. It's not very far. It's down the hall, and
Oh,
you can see the armors as we go.
lovely.
Yes. Please follow me.
Mhm.
And he takes you out the door and down the hall. You go up a winding set of stairs or stone stairs. The building is quite nice. There's a long hallway that you come to where the armors, there's suits of armor lining the wall going all the way down. He points, he's a font of information as you go. He wants to stop at everything and talk about it, but he says, like, they're quite small. And for years, people thought that the medieval knights, were tiny people because the suits of armor were so small. But they've misunderstood that completely. You see, suits of armor that knights wore in battle rarely survived the battles. They were rusted away. These were what armor manufacturers would take with them to show off the intricacy of their work. Obviously, if they could make them tiny, they could make them big. So these are all just display models, like a salesman would bring to your front door and show off. Here we are. I'd like you all to do a listen roll. You're heading towards two very large wooden doors at the end of the hall.
Oh, my dice went flying.
52. Listen.
80. Not so good.
81.
52 out of 54. So just made it, clearly.
I passed, just a regular.
So we've got a couple of passes.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
At first, you don't really notice as you guys are walking, but some noises, like pounding noises, suddenly sound rather alarming. And you think you hear a man's voice sort of call out, "Ah!" like this from the other side of the door. And you can hear things moving around as you get there. Professor Chudenko is obviously a little deaf. He hears nothing as you're approaching the door.
I'll assist. Someone sounds in trouble.
Well, it's the door right there. Yes, that's the one.
I open it up. I want to help whoever's
You
in
open
trouble.
it up. It's definitely not locked. But in that moment that you open it up, there is pandemonium inside. There are things knocked down. There is glass on the floor. There are 3 bodies laying on the floor, one which has no head. The head has been, and the blood is still squirting out of the body onto the floor. There are 4 men in the room dressed in black, and you can see one of them is climbing out the window. As you open the door, the 2 men closest to you They turn around quickly and they draw their guns and point them at you. So let's do initiative, because they are not going to hesitate to start shooting.
Mm.
And you can all do spot hiddens for me really quick.
Yeah.
I think I had your initiative written down, but I don't anymore.
Ooh, I passed my spot hidden.
Ooh.
95. This is not looking so good.
I got 88 on my spot hidden, so I failed.
Okay. Well, those of you who passed, their faces seem to be covered in leather masks that are not leather masks, but the skinned faces of other people.
Yeah, that's not going to survive.
Leather face.
So I'm just going to go around the circle because instead of initiative. So Dr. Neruda, what are you going to do? He's pointing the gun. He's about to pull the trigger.
Well, I would like to not get shot, so
dive. There's lots of junk in here. So.
Yeah, I'm not going to try to be heroic and grab the gun because this isn't a movie.
They're about 25 feet away from you.
Yeah, I'm diving for cover.
Okay.
I mean, I want to stop the guy from going out the window because I think he's taken the Sedefkar piece. But if there's people with guns between me and him,
yeah, you'll just be throwing yourself in the path of his bullets.
Yeah, I'm diving for cover.
Gunter.
What floor are we on?
You are on actually the third floor of the building.
Okay, and he's jumping out the window. There's no way I could, if we were on the first, maybe run for an exit. I'm going to
do a listen roll for me really quick.
Okay. Oh, 07.
Okay, yeah, you can hear the clank of metal. So there's definitely a fire escape out the window.
Okay, yeah.
Which he's getting on.
Okay, I'm going to throw something like I have like maybe I just kind of want to distract the guy with the gun as I try and duck behind the door.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Dorian, what do you do?
Well, they have guns, so I will actually pull out my gun that I very rarely use, but I will pull it out. I'm not very proficient with it, but I'm going to attempt to shoot someone.
Well, I think they have the surprise, so
yes,
they're going to fire. I just want you to know what you're doing in response. So you can pull out the gun, but you're not jumping out of the way.
He'll probably dodge in response to start off with. He'll have the gun ready, but he'll dodge to start off with.
Okay, go ahead and roll dodge.
That is 80, which is a fail.
Okay. Theodore, you've always got your hand on your gun. So I'll give you the opportunity if you can to shoot, but
yeah, my goal is the second I see these guys in there, I know what time it is. I'm drawing, and as I draw, I'm pretty familiar with this move. It's a door frame. I just step to the side, so half my body's behind the wall, and I'm just right around that corner, center mass right into the closest.
Okay. Go ahead and shoot.
Okay, please. Still pretty disappointing. Too disappointing. Damn it. Dirty. That's a lot of disappointment there. Oh, okay.
This
boy.
Just round one.
Yeah. All the bunnies in the world can't change that one. That's a big miss.
Dr. Kurz?
Say you said they're about 20-ish feet from the door?
Maybe 25 feet.
Of this big, complicated room full of...
Correct. Bits. And there's stuff falling all over the floor and glass.
And the decapitated fellow, how far is he from the door?
He's probably just 2 or 3 feet, and his blood is squirting out all over the floor.
Yeah. I think I'm going to see if the Memsahis can put his head back on before he expires.
Oh, his head's not there.
Yeah, that's not... I can't fix that then. So yeah, just throw myself behind some junk.
Okay, do a dodge.
My first successful roll tonight. Regular only.
Okay. The second fellow who's standing there also pulls out a shotgun,
No.
which he points. The other two men are going out the window, and they've, at the moment, succeeded in getting out of the window. The first guy is going to fire at, well, he's going to fire at somebody, and he's going to miss. The second guy with the shotgun is going to fire, and of course that sprays. So I would like Dorian, Theodore, and Roland to just do luck or dodge, whichever one's higher.
My dodge is higher than my 29 luck, so
Both are passes.
I failed, and I
At a 42.
Okay.
I also got a 42, but that's a fail.
And I have a 97, so I think I'll be operating on myself if I'm
Okay.
lucky.
So Dorian and Roland, you both get hit with shot. Do a 1d3 for damage. And you can see now that the two men going out the window are out the window, and the other two men are not even bothering. They're going to stand there and keep firing in your direction to make sure the others get out. You can also see that there's something in a bag on the back of one of these criminals going out the window. You can hear the clanging of his feet. I will let you all now actually react with if you're going to fight, if you're going to shoot, if you're going to do something.
I want to stop them from getting out the window.
Yeah, they're already, the two of them are already out.
Okay.
The other two are defending the window.
So I dove for cover. Is there anything that looks heavy
Do a luck roll.
around?
That's a priceless
24 is a
Steinway.
pass.
Okay, yeah, you find something, some chunk of, I don't know, meteorite that's made out of iron, quite heavy and fist-sized. You're going to throw that?
Yep.
Okay.
With my impressive throw of 20%. Nope, 89.
Okay. Yeah, one of the guys easily dodges that when you throw it. Gunter.
Okay. Yeah. You if I went running the other way, away from the gunmen, was there because we were walking through, does there seem to be a way I could get out of the building quickly? Like, is there just a stairwell that kind of goes down?
You do an intelligence roll.
Sure. Regular.
Okay. You can, however, you don't completely remember how you got here. You'd be running kind of blind and hoping that you go down the right stairs and through the right building and the right door.
I think I'm still going to try it because it sounds better than a shotgun.
Okay. So you turn around to run. You're behind the door, so they can't shoot at you. Dorian. Now your gun's out.
Yes, my gun is out, but with how hard the shotgun hit, I'm going to try and dive into cover now.
Okay. Go ahead.
Mm-hmm.
99.
Okay. You dive for cover. He shoots, but he gets a 91. So the bullet, doesn't even graze your skin, but it comes close. It's scary. Theodore.
All right. So from hopefully my covered position by the half door frame, I'll take another shot. Hopefully this time it'll be more placed well. 48 is a hit. That is, in fact, it's a hit.
Okay, I got an 85, so you hit. Go ahead and roll damage.
All righty. Ooh, 9 to 11. 11. Housing.
He's got 11 hit points, so you put the bullet right through his brain, and he drops. And that's the guy with the shotgun that you hit.
Oh, God.
You can hear clank, 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 clank of the guys going down the fire escape outside. Roland, what do you want to
do? I'm going to cut the shot out of myself. I took 2 hit points, so I'm assuming that's 3 or 4 pellets, probably close to each other.
Yeah.
So a little.
Yeah.
And
they come right out.
She sings a little bit of bright light. Feels okay.
You are healed. That takes your. Call it that takes your turn. The guy with the gun, he just kicks his buddy over to the side out of the way, who's now, back of his head's blown off. And he reaches into his pocket and pulls out a hand grenade and tosses it in your direction. It clatters on the floor. And he turns to jump out the window. Let's see if he can do it. He does not manage to get out the window. He slips in his buddy's blood. What do y'all want to do? Dr. Gabriel, Dr. Neruda, you see the
grenade?
The hand grenade.
Oh, fuck, gotta throw it back. Or scramble like hell. I don't know where it is in relation to me, but I need to get...
Well, I'd say it's at least just about 10 feet from your position, but it's right there in front of y'all.
A pertinent question for this. So as I envision this, open the door, see this happening. For me, I'm on the outside of the room, half behind the door. So my question is, does the hand grenade land on the room side of the door, or did it make it through the door into the area we were in?
No, it's on the room side.
Okay.
Maybe 10 feet from the door.
Okay.
And I'll also tell you that these doors are like 1.5 inches thick oak.
Yeah, okay. So having a wall between us that we could easily just sort of step over would soak up the grenade. Got it.
You're already behind the wall. A couple of the other guys are not. I mean, behind the door. So, yeah, you hear that horrible clatter of the hand grenade hit the floor. Gunter. Oh, you're Gunter.
I'm running.
You run down the hall of armor to the stairs and go down.
Yep.
And then by the time you get to the bottom, you'll hear something from upstairs.
Yeah.
Dorian. Dorian.
Well, I am going to try and get to Theodore, basically.
Okay, you're going to try to get out?
Yes.
Do a luck roll to see if you can get out before it goes off.
God. Yes, my 29 luck. Let's see. Wishful thinking. I roll 50.
Okay.
I have 29 luck.
Okay. So Dorian's not going to make it out the door. Theodore, what are you going to do? You're going to grab him? Or?
Could I use my luck to try to yank him through that door that I'm right at?
I'll let you give that. You can try to yank him faster than he can move. He stumbles.
Okay. All right. Should I roll, or do I just burn luck, or how do you?
No, roll luck.
Roll luck. Okay. Come on. Don't. Please be nice. Please be nice. Oh, dirty. Darn it. Gosh. Darn. That's
you reach your ground and you grab him, and then Dr. Roland. You're on the ground. You fixed your wounds.
Yeah, I had thrown myself behind some ancient statuary. I've cut a bit of pellets out. This guy, he just pulled and tossed.
Correct.
Is this the little pineapple kind, or is it the older kind with the stick?
I don't know the difference. I envisioned him. I had a little pineapple kind, but
Yeah.
whatever's
few
pertinent to the sun.
like 5 to 8 second delay.
Yeah, I think I'm not going to get it back out through the door because I was turning my back to shrapnel and was cutting bits out of my flesh.
Okay.
So I think I only have the option of getting farther away behind the heavier stony bits of this antiquarian madness.
Do a luck roll for me.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Ooh, that's skin of my teeth. 46 for 49.
Okay. So you managed to get away just as ba-boom, the grenade goes off. Now the grenades aren't movie style explosions. It's a throws shrapnel everywhere when it goes. And if you were right next to it, of course, it would practically vaporize you. But those of you who are exposed, Dr. Rowland, you got far enough away. Dr. Neruda, I think you got far enough away or behind stuff.
Yeah, I went for cover.
Dorian, you are going to take the most damage because you're right there. And Theodore, you're going to take a little bit of damage because you'd reached around.
Yeah, I tried to help. Yeah.
So, Dorian, let's give you 1d8 of damage. How much is your hit points? Just can't hear you.
I have 5 hit points left.
Oh,
so.
then you take 1d4. you take 1d6, which just make it fair. 1d6. And Theodore
here.
Theodore, you take 1d4.
Alrighty. Oh, here's my 1d4. I'll use a 1d6.
Well, I took 5.
Okay.
So I am down. I'm down. I'm down.
Well, you're lying on the floor. You're bleeding.
Yes.
Maybe a couple of your body parts have been knocked off, your hands or your leg or something like that. We'll just say that you're unconscious, but you are bleeding. How about you, Theodore?
2.
Okay. You've taken the shrapnel to the arm.
I'll be okay. Just need to stop.
The fellow trying to get out the window, he took a full brunt of the explosion. He slipped as he turned, and he's dead. And in the aftermath, as you're standing there, Gunter, you, of course, heard the explosion come from upstairs.
Yeah.
What Dr. Rowland, you're in fairly good condition, so is Dr. Neruda. What are you going to do? You see Dorian has been severely mutilated by the explosion.
I only managed to cover one of my ears because I had the Mim Sahifs in the other hand. But I feel quite confident in making some reparations to Dr. Dubrovsky now that there are no active combatants.
I want to go look out the window.
Okay. You also all notice that Dr. Chidenko is lying on the floor. And he doesn't, when you first look at him, you think, okay, he got shot or hit shrapnel, but you don't see any wounds on him. What you see is that his eyes are all bloodshot, and he's grabbed his head, and he looks like in the middle of a scream when he fell, and he's dead, but it looks like he had an aneurysm. All right, Dr. Neruda, you run to the window. What are you doing, Gunter, when you hear the explosion?
I still want to go get down there and see if, because I mean, it's already blown up. I want to see. I want to see if I can see their car. Try and get an idea.
All right. So you're running outside.
Yeah.
Dr. Roland, let's see, Theodore. Theodore, you watch Dr. Roland quickly move over to Dorian and begin reassembling him, putting him back together, healing the wounds. The scarring is minimal, but some of the body parts have been completely obliterated. So, Dorian, you're going to be missing a few fingers.
At this point, I have no more reservations for
Yes, fine.
Dr. Kurtz.
Okay.
I thought this might win you over.
And he can help put you back together as well. Now, what you also notice is you've got the headless body. You've got another man who looks like he has been beaten to death. And there's a third man. These were all people, probably workers in the room, students or whatever. The third man is not dead, but he also looks like they attempted to beat him to death. But he's still breathing. Dorian. Yes, Doctor. Yes, Theodore.
So what I'd like to do, the second I see Dorian being treated and going to be okay, Dr. Kurtz is the best we've got right now here for this. I'm booking for the window, getting there and seeing, because they can't be that far off. I should be able to have line of sight to them, hopefully. So that's my goal. I'm going there, and if I can, I'll blow out a tire or something.
Okay. So you and Dr. Neruda are running for the window. Gunter, you're running down the stairs. Dorian, you don't come back to consciousness immediately, but you can take 1d6 hit points and put them back on, as Dr. Roland seems to be somehow reviving you.
You're not aware. I rolled 2 points.
Yeah.
It's better than 0.
It's
All right.
the irony.
So Theodore and Dr. Neruda, you run to the window and you look out. So there's a parking lot outside. You can see the parking lot. There you can see sort of downward, because it's a metal fire escape, that the two, we know what they are. They're brothers of the skin. The two brothers of the skin are getting towards the bottom of it, and they're going to run. However, you see a big black car, which sounds like the description that Gunter gave for the big black car. But you also see a truck, and the truck has a tarp over the bed of the truck, just kind of mounted up and over it. And there are 4 other cultists that are standing next to the truck and the car, and they all have guns pointed up at the window.
Oh, screw this. No, okay. Okay. They win. They win this round.
All right. So, Gunter, you finally figure out where the door is. It's like running through a maze, but you get to the door and you open up the door, and you can see these cultists firing up the window because they saw Dr. Neruda and Theodore up there, but they're not looking at you at this point. Also, I should mention that by now, the university has gone, people are running all around. You can hear police sirens probably off in the distance that are heading there. What did you want to do, Gunter?
Well, I come out, I assume I see it's the car that I saw with my eye. And then when I see they have guns, I've got no way to deal with 4 guys with guns. So I'm just going to kind of
okay.
Get behind some bricks or.
When they think they've got the coast is clear, they all start to leap into their cars.
Mm-hmm.
And just as they are leaping in their cars, another car Looks like just, somebody who would have a regular old car. I don't kind. Comes screeching around the corner and into the parking lot and kind of does a little spin out as they're there. And for that moment, those guys are kind of distracted and surprised. And somebody jumps out of the car and gets themselves on the other side of the car and starts shooting at them using the car as to block the shots. So once again, the gun battle all starts up. And that's about when you notice that one of the cultists grabs that tarp and pulls it off. And there is a mounted machine gun on the back of that truck. And he's climbing up there to start. Yeah. Those of you upstairs can still peek and see this happening. You can hear it going on outside. What do you all want to do?
When I think
Thursby, can you take out the guy on the machine gun from here?
Okay, so I just dove back. So if you are watching this, I'll poke my head out. What's the distance? What's the range from the window there? Like 50 yards or less?
Maybe 20, 30 yards.
Okay, 20, 30 yards, I can take a shot. But once I take my shot, I don't want to be taking more shots because that'll just get his attention. So I either do it with a shot or I'm not going to, the machine gun will rip through the wall I'm hiding behind.
Right.
One shot at it.
Go ahead. See if you can get the guy on the machine gun.
Please. Oh, come on. Come on. Okay, be positive. Oh, fluffy bunnies. 78. That's not fluffy bunnies. Okay. All right. That's a miss.
So you shoot at him, and you ricochets off the machine gun, and he climbs up
the window.
Gets on the machine gun. You see this fellow down there in the car jumping up every couple of seconds and firing in their direction. Meanwhile, the big black car peels out and drives out. He's now firing at the truck, and the truck is getting ready to fire to move. Does anybody want to do anything else, or are you just kind of horrified and watching the scene as it plays out?
I don't know what to do. I don't have a gun.
That's cool.
I think I've got enough time to run and kind of knock that guy down that's shooting. That way he's not popping his head up when a machine gun's.
Sure. Why don't you go ahead and try?
All right. Yeah, I'm going to run. This is my army training kicking in. Just try and I'm just going to run. My goal is just kind of grab him by his collar as I dive down to the ground and pull him down.
Okay.
Wait, what you want? Dex or...
just I don't know, what would you like to roll? Whatever.
I mean, fighting brawl, probably. You're trying to do kind of a combat maneuver.
Okay.
It's the chat.
I will spend 1 luck to make that.
Okay. So you run across there, and much to your horror, just as you're about to get there, you see that machine gun make its first like this. You dive for this guy and you pull him down behind the car as the bullets from the machine gun sort of cut the whole top off the car and start to go around. And basically he sweeps every car in the parking lot and makes sure none of the vehicles are usable as the truck then turns and peels out of the parking lot and down the street. And Gunter, you suddenly realize that the man you're on top of is the police fellow that you met earlier, Christianov, the one who gave you information because he believed you.
Mm-hmm.
That you guys were talking about. And as you've pulled him down and saved his life, he tries to jump back up again afterwards and fire, but they're gone. He realizes there's no point, and he's like, well, he holds down his hand for me, and he says, now you can see, I was following them. They looked very suspicious. Now you have met the butchers, as we call them.
Yeah. And then I kind of point at my eye. Yeah, I met him last night, unfortunately, too.
They took your eye. How horrible. And he looks around and he's like, oh boy, we are going to have a mess in about 5 minutes when all of the police and everybody shows up. There's now people.
Yeah.
University people and everything, and medics. And he says, perhaps you were very brave to come and try and save me.
Just this training kicked in.
Let's go back inside. Were you injured? Yeah.
No.
All right. So
Meanwhile, inside,
the
only one who didn't go to the window, one of the university students, I'm assuming, was decapitated, but there's no head, which makes me suspicious. So when I have done stabilizing Dubrovsky, I wish to walk by and just seal that neck up with some memsahis. Okay. Maybe this will slow down the decay. Also, the memsahis likes the delicious flavors of the human blood. But there was also one surviving student.
Yes.
And I have not used the knife on blunt trauma before, but the knife knows more than I do. So I'm going to try to see if I can, maybe there's a little bit of head injury that I can experiment on.
Yeah.
See if I can wake him up.
You realize that the hematomas, you can seem to help those because they're broken blood vessels and so forth. But you think that he's taken some serious head trauma. Even with the memsahis, this would be surgery that you'd have to take your time, and you don't want people walking in on you while you're doing that. But he's definitely in and out of consciousness. He's muttering. It's pretty much incomprehensible what he's saying, but you kind of memorize the syllables because they're not in your own language.
Yeah.
And what he is saying is something about his shoulders were not his own, or something like that. Very strange thing to say. But then he slips into a coma, as the other medical professionals get there, and
I put away the magical blade. I guess if he's inoperable to my capacity, I need to get the identification from the decapitated one, because the head seems to have migrated from the museum shelves to the museum staff.
By this time, Gunter and Kristova, Major Kristova, get up there. And at first he says it, out loud to you, and then a little bit more quietly as other people are arriving. He says, well, it becomes obvious that you and I are on the same team. We are trying to stop these insane butchers. He says, I am going to take you all in as witnesses, but just be silent. He says, there are ears. They have ears everywhere. So he sort of gathers you together to keep you together, and then ends up having some angry, heated exchanges with some of the other officers that you can't understand. It's all in Bulgarian. But he takes you down, and he gets you outside. And for some lucky reason, his vehicle, though it took a lot of bullet hits and so forth, it still managed to be usable.
It's a convertible.
Yeah, it's convertible now. But he says, get inside. And then you probably figured the police want to investigate this and speak to you, but I would rather that you don't say anything, because we don't know who is on their side and who is not. So he drives around. He drives around for almost an hour, going up one alley and down another alley and all of this. And he says, I don't want them to know where we are going. And you soon arrive at a small house on the edge of town, and there are a couple of men there who look like they're just, men hanging out. And he goes up to them and he whispers something in their ears. And he says to you, this is a safe house that we've put together for people that I feel are loyal to me. And he takes you inside. Well, he doesn't. He goes up to the door and he does a very specific coded knock on the door. And he's asked, what is the password? And he gives the password. And you go inside, and there are other people there who are very glad to see that he is still alive. Welcome to my headquarters, at least for this month, anyway. Takes you inside.
The whole drive there and everything, I had my eye socket closed because I'm paranoid about them looking through it. And my recently painted glasses by Dr. Kerr's on also.
So every time you sort of squeezed your eye socket closed, you felt like you were in that car and you were speeding along. Do a luck roll.
Yeah, just spit some. No.
Okay. You couldn't quite tell which direction you were going in. But you did sort of try to keep looking out for street signs. Of course, they're all in Bulgarian, so it's hard for you to remember what you were seeing.
Okay.
And a little while later, you feel as if you are definitely leaving the city or something. So he says, well, please sit down, have some coffee. He says, it looks like you have some very dangerous enemies, the same as mine, I think. So what prompted this? What do you have to say? What was going on?
We were looking for an artifact that apparently they're interested in. Also, why they're interested in it, I don't know, but we were looking for an
artifact.
Some part of a statue.
So you don't think maybe they followed you and tried to take you out for your involvement?
I'm afraid it's very clear they did not follow us, but preceded us.
Well, How did you lose your eye?
Oh, finger. Just they just jabbed a
Huh?
finger into my.
Look, we are on the same side here.
Yeah. It's hard to say. I mean, I woke up and there was a hand on my face and it pulled my eye out.
I,
Literally a hand, no arm.
Are you telling me that the disembodied hand attacked you?
Hands, plural.
Ah, if it wasn't for the fact that I have heard and seen other things that are quite unbelievable, I would say you were crazy. But what was this tonight? This was a definite attack, and I don't think they were necessarily attacking the university. I'm sure that they will spin it that way in the newspaper tomorrow, that it was a terrorist attack on the university.
Mm.
But I don't know. We still don't know where their headquarters are or where we have almost no leads. We're hoping, though, that this time, sometime around, that we will get a lead, that we will be able to follow. Do you know anything? Do you have any idea?
I pull out that sketch of the mountain I saw.
He takes it from you and he looks at it, and he talks to a couple of his men. What? Think. And one of them, you hear one of them say, Sredna Gora. He's like, Sredna Gora. He says it is a mountain range east of Sofia, near the Isku River. There's not much out there. There's villages, maybe small villages, but there are lots of caves.
Oh, caves.
That's interesting. That might help. I will tell you what I know, and if you are willing, please tell me what you know. We are going to, we can pull together. We have quite a few people on our side here. If we can find their headquarters, we can definitely storm it together.
Yeah.
You can see we are not afraid of a firefight. I've been chasing these people for almost 3 years now.
Oh.
And I believe they have infiltrated even the police. That's why I'm very wary. Even the medical people, I'm very wary of. I just don't know who to trust, but I know I can trust these men. These men are on my side. Some of them have lost people to these butchers. So everything that he tells you is from the perspective that he thinks there's some kind of gang. Their modus operandi is that they not only kill the people, but they take body parts, usually hands, sometimes heads, sometimes they skin the faces off of them. He's describing the Brothers of the Skin. Yep. They are quite violent. He is convinced that it's part of a white slavery organization because people have been kidnapped, they have disappeared. He thinks that they're being sold as slaves out of Arabia or the Orient. But he has never come across enough information to pull it all together into a cohesive story. But you are safe here. What do you guys want to reveal anything to him? Or do you want to tell him lies?
I see some mean, I would probably,
You want to
unless
use him?
anyone else want to say something else, I'd probably, well, we think that they're like a pagan cult obsessed with an old world god that demanded human sacrifice. And what we were looking for was essentially the head of the idol of that god, which apparently they value highly, that they would. I mean, all our leads said it was stored at the university, and I mean, we hadn't encountered them being that violent before.
Now that's interesting because they got there before you, they said.
Mm-hmm.
So if this head of their idol has been there at the university all this time, they must have only recently discovered this piece of information. So the question is just how did they discover it? Are you not being careful of who you are talking to, or?
Well, I mean,
we can say that they are extremely subtle in their operations, and they can be extremely difficult to identify. If you look closely at some of the cadavers that they leave behind, they seem to have some technology of not merely cutting pieces off from people, but attaching them. So they're very, very successful at hiding in plain sight, if you will.
Gunter, as you're standing there, you feel a bit of a headache, and your eye squints, and you can see that you are on a mountain road, and you seem to be heading for a turnoff. This is a really bad road. This isn't a regular paved road. It's mostly ruts. There's ruts from just, it's barely a road. But there's some very distinct trees and stuff as you're turning, and the car pulls to a halt, and you see a couple of men get out, including yourself.
Yep.
From that perspective, and they pull back a green tarp. This is nighttime right now. Yeah. You see them pulling back a tarp, and on the other side is the entrance to a cave. You can see them going inside. Now, it's a fairly narrow cave, and you can feel them walking. You can see them walking, and this is you're tuning yourself out to the conversation at hand, but you can see them walking, climbing in this cave, and there's a point where they pass through, and there is an almost cathedral-like cavern that's lit with torches, and you think that you see bones, looks like skulls all piled up in the middle. It looks definitely like some sort of cult worship place. You notice that the other people in the group are all dressed kind of in black. Some of them have now donned black robes. They all have the skins of other people's faces, which they're using as masks. As they seem to be carrying something in a sack. Mr. Block, are you all right? You seem to be distracted.
Yeah, I kind of described the road and everything to him, and because he was not shocked when I said dismembered hands ripped my eyeballs out. I mean, so I kind of explained that it's like I can see through my eye.
You can see through your eye what they are doing. describe for me what you are seeing then,
Yeah.
which you do.
Yep.
He says it's definitely, if what you are seeing is true, then it's definitely along the line of the roads going up towards the mountain. They said Sredna Gora. You said there was a river. That would be East Kur River. I don't know. I don't know if we can believe this hocus pocus, as you say, but you seem to be seeing something. Perhaps you're not some strange psychic who's come in to try and fool us all.
No,
we've had plenty of those, but you strike me as that.
And what disturbs me is where you talked about them going to the university today, and we were reading that manuscript today. I'm just worried that they can see what I see also, which could have compromised your...
If you can see through their eyes, perhaps they can see through yours. That is how perhaps they knew beforehand. This is all very strange, but I am inclined to believe you. I am quite desperate after 3 years of fighting these people to put an end to them.
I want to do one other thing. I'm going to see if I can actually turn my eye, like the eye that the other guys. Yeah.
Do a luck.
Okay.
I know willpower. Willpower is much better.
POW? It's a regular POW.
Okay. Yeah. There's a moment when you want to kind of look around, and the eye on the other guy does sort of look around. You see a place in this cave with all of these torches lit, where it almost looks like the stalagmites and the stalactites form a kind of giant mouth with fangs coming down, like a giant dragon's mouth, and that some of the cultists seem to be going up the tongue, if you will, into this area, and that you're heading there, though it's very dark. You can't see inside. It's like a place of total darkness that they are heading towards. But you can almost feel it. There's definitely a strong connection. But as you're doing that, you also feel like something inside your head is suddenly turning your eye that's not there and looking around at all of the people in the room.
I just kind of like hands over.
You feel internal frustration. They suddenly can't see what you're looking at. They can see your hands.
Yeah.
So as you are recuperating, which Dorian and thanks to the Mem Sahis, you guys are doing rather quickly. You're being discreet so that they don't see what you're doing. Two things happen. A phone call comes into the residence where you guys are, and the major, is it Major?
Yeah.
He picks up the phone and he's like, What are you saying? This, why? Oh, yes. It's a man from a village, from the village of Chukurovo, which is east of here in the mountains you spoke of. But he is speaking very strangely. He says, if I am to translate it in the proper dialect, which would be literally impossible, but this is what he says. He says, a horseless carriage with fresh musket holes through the front window drove by me on the mountains north of the village, heading to Sretna Gora, near the Iskur River. And he hangs up the phone and he says, do you think it's an ambush? Are they trying to get us to come up there? Do you think it's a trap? Why was he speaking so strangely? Old-fashioned horseless carriage, musket balls?
I mean, are there other roads into the
There are a number of
mountains?
them. There's one main one that would go up, but then there would be small, service roads and things like that. Gunter, you told him what you saw? He says,
Yeah.
I'm sure that if with Mr. Block in the front seat, we would be able to. He would tell us when we've gotten to that spot.
This phone number is, of course, very well kept secret. So the informant who described this, what is the relationship?
I don't know. Actually, this was patched through from my people in the Sofia Police Department. But what a strange dialect for him to say this. I'm sure it is probably an ambush, but we have reinforcements, so the fools don't know about our new friends that we have in this fight. Those who see things that may lead us to finally being rid of these horrible, horrible people. So I say, what do you say? Shall we? I can gather my men within an hour. We can be up there before midnight.
I mean, I like the idea of being rid of this group as much as you. I am concerned. I mean, I'm not not as spry as I once was. I don't know how much help I'm going to be necessarily in a gunfight. So I'm a little worried.
Well, perhaps your information can help us as we go. That's up to you.
Yeah, I mean,
I also don't have a gun.
Well, we can
Also
arm
does not
you.
help
That's
in a
not the problem at all. We can give you something easy to fire.
Before we start preparing, I would suggest you blindfold me so I don't see the preparations, so they can't see the preparations.
All right. Well, we can do that part of the way up, but once we get up there, we'll need you to identify the tree and the place to turn.
I was talking about more here, so they don't see how many.
Yes. So we'll say he has a blindfold.
Yeah.
And gives that to you, so they can blindfold prisoners when they bring them here.
That's right.
All right. So at some point, probably within an hour or so, he's got 10 men, all well armed and ready to go. And you will get into vehicles. Are you all going to go, or does some of you want to stay?
If we, what is Dabrowski's condition at this point?
He's better than he was before. He's got more hit points than he had before. We'll say you're back up to maximum, Dorian.
And who needs pinkies anyway?
Yeah, got a few.
Overrated. Yeah, it's a
You can
smaller
replace
bit.
those later.
Well, we didn't find the blown off couple of pieces.
They were
Well,
pretty much
they were
atomized.
Oh,
Like
Yeah.
too
hamburger
torn up
meat.
to do anything with. I don't know. I don't know what exactly we would be leaving one person behind. If everybody else dies up there anyway, I don't think that one person is going to be finishing the job, so to speak. So
Yeah,
we should all go.
confidentially, I am uncertain whether we ideally would be taking up the other pieces of the simulacrum, but I think we dare not do this. I think we must retrieve this piece and then resolve the reconstitution and destruction. I wish we had better information about the end of this thing. I am also confused how this person who had not his own shoulders and was wearing this head was at the university. Was there identification material on the headless one?
Yeah, the three of them were just 3 student workers that were in the room.
And if I tender the identification to our friend Christianov, there's nothing about his past or family or anything suggestive.
Nothing that they could get in the day. There's no computers, so
Yeah.
but they can find out.
This almost sounds like a suicide mission. 10 guys and 2 vehicles going up one road into the woods. Sounds like fall a tree.
They did have a very big machine gun on the vehicle.
So if they have 1 or 2 more of those, they would make short work of a couple vehicles trapped on a single road in and a single road out.
So I was asking about other roads, so not take the road that person who called in was telling us to take.
Yeah, none of these roads would be mapped. They're just service roads, and
I think many of these are goat paths that a truck will try in the good season.
So as they're getting ready and they're ready to go, Gunter, you suddenly get a pounding in your head, and everybody else notices as you sort of wheeze back and you have to sit down. Blood. You're seeing spurts of blood. You're seeing that there's a man in a black robe running in front of you, and suddenly he is torn in half in front of you. And you can't look away, but you know now that you're turning and you're running, and another body comes flying and hitting the ground, and you see something shadowy and dark moving around in the darkness. And there's a man, one of these cultists. You're sure it's a cultist because he's got that mask on. His head suddenly is disengaged from his body, and the blood splatters everywhere. You see a man running towards you, and his insides just suddenly get ripped into pieces, and there's a shadow moving in your direction from in front, and the last thing that you see is this sort of blur of black and white, like a ghost face, move towards you, and it reaches out with very long fingernails and hits you right in the face. And as it does, you jump back and you start, and all of the vision disappears, and any discomfort that you had internally, it suddenly feels like you're free. And that's where we're going to end it for tonight. Our players included Morgan Llewellyn, David Gassaway, Stuart Lively, Keith Craig, and Josh Harwood, with yours truly as the keeper of arcane lore. We have a Discord server where you can chat with other members, you can set up private games, and you can learn the finer arts of gameplay and game mastering. We provide audio-only versions of our shows free for you to download from Podbean, Spotify, or iTunes. If you'd like to help support our show, please visit our Patreon account. Just $1 to a month helps us a lot. Like, share, and subscribe to our channel and punch the bell icon for updates on our latest shows. And leave us some comments. We enjoy reading them and answering any questions you might have. This is Tom Rayleigh, together with all the members of our gaming club, inviting you to journey with us once again into the darkness for another adventure into the universe of H.P. Lovecraft and the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game. Until next time, good luck and good gaming.